Well, it's dramatic. Everywhere you look into it, saying, well, this here is ticking bombs. It is, well, literally sometimes weapons of mass destruction. They can be used as such, but they can also by themselves develop to that. Going into drinking water, going into the soil for the farming, into the product. You know, we have to do something about it. But I think we also need to bear in mind that if we in Western Europe didn't have environmental movements and some few strong politicians who really went into this issue here 40, 50 years ago, in the 70s, the problem in our countries would have been far worse. So it's just a way of natural development in the industrial countries we face in Eastern Europe today, or many other places in the world. We are so linked to these countries. We get their agricultural products which can be contaminated. We get, well, the water flow from these terrible landfills can easily reach our areas too. It's airborne too, the airborne pollution. You know, it's a pollution of a very, very severe character. So it is also our problem. It's not just because we are nice people we have to do something about it. We have to do it for our own sake too. There, I think, again, we should bear in mind that it would have been exactly the same problem by us if we didn't have hadn't had our heroes of the time, the green movements, some good politicians who really were able to raise this issue and to change the situation. Not good enough, sure. And we, even in Denmark, we have several of these ticking bombs still in our soil, don't forget. And we have to do something about it sooner or later. And so, you know, we can also, all of us, benefit from finding a solution. It's not only for their sake. Well, we have the old-fashioned way of doing it, digging it up, sending it to incineration in Western Europe, where we, some places in Denmark, for instance, have quite efficient plants for incineration, where we really can keep even the dioxins inside. That could be done. That would be sad if we did it like that. Because what are we then doing? Then we are choosing a very, very expensive solution. And also a very old-fashioned solution, because incineration is also an obsolete matter, obsolete technology. Whatever it creates CO2, it creates waste afterwards, polluted, contaminated waste, and we will not develop new technologies. And it's absolutely also important to bear in mind that we can find other solutions. And this here in Europe can be a push for Europe to develop new technologies which can be used not only in Europe, but also in countries where you are facing exactly the same problems, probably even worse. Africa, I guess in Asia too, and you have it. I know that the UN is working with this here in FARO, in WHO, in UNEP, and of course we should cooperate with them. So I think that probably it's the most important that we now, when we insist of this problem to be solved, and we should do that. We have no choice there, no choice, and the sooner the better. Because it's really a very, very, very tangible risk we are facing here. But we should insist at the same time to do it in a smart and progressive way with these mobile technologies in cooperation, which of course should be done with UN, and Europe should be behind this here. We couldn't leave it to Ukraine or Romania or what it is. They cannot. Well, you know, I am in that lucky situation, and that I'm working in a political group with some of the best experts on that kind of stuff here we have in Europe. And I will ask my colleagues in my green group and my advisors there, how do we push for this here? And of course I will take contact with the Commission, where I'm quite sure that the Commissioner for Environment would be very, very interested. The Commission itself is very, very, well, obsolete too. They are not dealing with the environment, but some of them are clever enough to see this year is too risky. And then of course we should try to involve member states, because making big decisions here should be done at the level of, if it should be done at the level of EU, we need the Parliament. I think that could be quite easy, because so many of them are facing this problem. So we should of course network inside the Parliament to get the other parties. We will be able to mobilize at many levels in the European system, and I think it could be quite easy to do. I think our real problem would be those with the incineration plants, because they need, you know, waste to keep up their old-fashioned plants, and they are now crying because progress is going on in so many Western European countries, and they have enormous investments in their incineration plants. So I foresee the real battle will not be how to get the money to clean this here up. The real battle will be, how should we do this here? And there we will run into old-fashioned guys with no new ideas, and just how can we get our money back? It's for all of us. I am the grandmother of almost 8 grandchildren, and it's their future. If we don't do this here, we might hope it don't explode in the face of ourselves. But well, it could easily do, and if not, at least it's a big threat to the future if we don't do this here. And if we could find a smart way of doing it, it would be such a benefit to the whole world.